Hello, welcome to Evangelistic Apologetics. This is an introduction to systematic Christian worldview. We're in the third part of our big series. It's called The Science of Science and the Theory of Evolution. And we are at the ending section of this section. We're called Assumptions versus Truth and Faith and Science. Okay, two parts. But all of this is trying to summarize the big picture of our philosophy of science. We have defined the existence as three kinds. There's a natural world, man's world, a supernatural world. And in order to know these three worlds, we must use experience, ideas, or thinking, or reason, and we must use faith, which involves assumptions, okay, in your thinking. So the result, you have science, philosophy, and religion. And among these three branches, if the knowledge are accurate reflections of the reality in these three worlds, then you have truth. Okay? If they are not accurate reflection, then it's not truth. They're knowledge or ideas or theories, but they're not truth. Truth are only the accurate reflections of the reality in your realms of thinking. Okay? And there are three realms of reality. There are three realms of thinking. There are three groups of tools that you use. Okay? So science is nothing but our desire to know the truth about the natural world, which is one level of existence. Okay? Philosophy is about human world, and then religion is about the supernatural world. Okay? And science has tried to minimize faith, the role of faith, okay? Because it is a reaction to modern science came out of the Christian world. It actually is a reaction to the Middle Ages Christian philosophy, in which they have made philosophy that made of religion, okay, who's the mistress, okay? And people have thought the abuse of too much into the faith without verification, then they say, okay, let's turn around. Let's try not to make a judgment on truth or falsehood unless you have verification. Okay? And that's where science came from. Okay? Science is trying to minimize the influence of faith. But I'm going to give you a statement in this section. I'm going to help you to realize that science cannot eliminate the role of faith. Actually, your fundamental assumptions, which is your faith, about no God and God, the two options, will influence your whole worldview and your philosophy of life and your practice, and not only in the religious level, but also in the philosophical, which will include the ethics, which is kind of between religion and philosophy, and then even go down to science, and it has psychological, how do you view of man, of yourself, okay? And that's why I'm going to give you this chart. It's like these two great worldviews, God or no God. They form two, you can say, mountains or pyramids, or you can think them as beams of light. Whichever you think is light, the other will be darkness. All right? And the people who believe no God, that is light. People who believe God, this is light. I mean, I happen to belong to this side, and I have reasons for that. Okay? Well, I've given you reasons, because with our scientific standard that we've summarized, practiced by all religions, we found that evolution is not as scientific as creation. Okay? So it's more scientific to believe there is a God than those who believe there is no God. If you believe in no God, then you are dealing with concepts of death, darkness, evil, hatred, apathy, bad, wrong, and false. If you're dealing with God, you're dealing with life, who is which is defined as God. God is life. God is the source of all life. And the light, and God is the source of light. And goodness, and God is the source of goodness. And love, God is the source of love. Actually, the Bible says God is love. And then fellowship, which is between the Trinity and between God and man, the believers. And then good, right, and true. So that is me as a believer saying this is the biblical God claims to deal, or from him emanates all of these concepts. And opposite to him will be on the other side, okay, because there's no God. Okay? So, and these concepts form pairs, and these pairs are cornerstone concepts of these realms of knowledge. Okay? For religion, you're dealing with death and life, darkness versus light, evil versus goodness, hatred versus love, and those are all in the religion. And it gets lower than that. Once you go to evil, goodness, hatred, love, and apathy, fellowship, you're going to philosophy, and actually part of psychology, about man to man, okay? And, philosophy is the overall picture. It can include the other two into it, okay? But you can also separate it if you make it technical term. And ethics is between religion and philosophy. Remember, when we began our series, we defined what is philosophy. Okay, well, philosophy is the love of wisdom. Philo in Greek is love, and Sophia is wisdom. Philosophy basically is the love of wisdom, and philosophy is divided into 4 branches. Number 1 is answering the question, "How do I know?" and that's called epistemology. Right? Number 2 is answering the question, what is there? And that's called metaphysics. And these 2 branches are interrelated. We actually formed a coordinate system. One, what is there? There are 3 realms, right? 3 realms. That's on the metaphysical coordinate. Okay, and the other side is the epistemological coordinate. Okay, this is reality. And this is the way to know things, and this is the result of knowledge, right? No, we reverse these 2, but in the beginning that was from reality to knowledge with the tool in the middle. And the tool in the middle is called it actually, and this side is the objective world, and this result is subjective world. In the middle, I call it a mid-objective world. It's the middle, okay? The tools are there, okay? Like the experience and the reason and faith. Okay, all of the things are already there. So for us to begin to know. Okay, so once you have these and you recognize, only the truth, the accurate reflection of the other side is truth. And after these 2 things, these 2 branches, fundamentals to philosophy, you have the third, which is the result. Once you know how to know, then you know what is there, and after that you should know what should I do. And that is the answer to the question of what should I do, and then that is the branch of ethics. Okay, so ethics is part of philosophy. It is also part of religion, because how do you know what should I do? Only after you know what is there. And what is there in the supernatural realm? You won't know that unless you have received revelation and you believe by faith. And that's how you have the whole picture. And then you go down from that in psychology. Is part of science. It's also part of philosophy, because there's a lot of assumptions. But anyway, it has some truth in there. So you need to deal with hatred, love, apathy, fellowship, and bad and good. That's in psychological, and wrong and right. But wrong and right, and false and true. Finally, all of these concepts are the issues of science. And science belongs to the realm, the small triangle, where people of these 2 different worldviews actually agree on. Okay, because it's a light in both situations. No matter which one is light, this place is always light. Okay, and therefore repeatable events. Okay, you can always repeat it and do experiment. This is not for unique events such as the virgin birth, and the resurrection, and so on. Those are not repeatable or not controllable. Okay, such as measuring the star's distance. You don't have enough, long enough rulers to measure the star's distance. You have to depend on a lot of assumptions and derive it. Okay, and anyway, for the repeatable and controllable situations, you get reliable theory. Every time you reapply it, you get the same result. That's why you get the applicable results, which is technology. The applicable science is technology. That will be used to benefit people. Okay, so that's these three things, and that's the result. And you have different worldview will result in having different results in your thought and your knowledge. And what we can know from our previous studies is that if you believe there is no God, you are likely end up believing in the theory of evolution for the origin of life, or actually we call it macroevolution. The opposite is microvariation, not evolution. Okay, and if you believe in no God, you're likely to believe in Big Bang theory for the beginning of the universe, origin of the universe, and you're likely going to accept ideologies that are contrary to the Christian worldview. Okay, ideologies in modern times, we have very totalitarian ideologies. We have Nazism, which is national socialism, communism, which is international socialism, and we have Islam, which is intra-faith socialism. Okay, so anyway, all of them are the results of having the assumption of there is no God. We have stated you cannot prove there is no God, which is harder to do than to prove there is a God. Not the case it can't be proven, but reason actually points to the existence of God, since science keeps on discovering laws in nature, and we know by natural law, laws don't come by themselves, right? So there has to be a designer and creator for everything to make sense. Okay, so the people who accept there is no God, it is an ideology. It is an ideology is an idea of the word of an idea. Okay, it is something they just assumed and believed and can't be proven, but even though sometimes it's contrary to evidence, but they still believe it, and that's called faith, and that's called assumptions. Okay, no God is more of faith and assumption than God. Okay, and if you are in this realm, you think this side is light, is in the other is darkness, you agree with these, and what you have is a Big Bang, which is a post-science. Evolution is pre-science, and the ideologies are para-science. If you're on the other side, in the middle, where everybody agree, you get pro-science. It's just like physics, chemistry, biology, where everybody agree. Okay? But once you're on this side, since it's involved with the top-level assumption, you're going to give pre-science, post-science, and para-science. Just to remind yourself, we have dealt with this concept before. Among all things called sciences, there are 4 types. Okay? There is pre-science, which is basically observation. You collect data. Okay? Like you observe nature, you collect data. And then after that, you form theories. Okay? And theories may be right, may be wrong. But the testable theories or falsifiable theories are scientific. The unfalsifiable are prepositional, they are the philosophical, and they're religious. Okay? So from pre-science, you're just observing nature and forming theories, you go to pro-science. Pro-science belongs to the repeatable events and controllable situation. Okay? Therefore, you get reliable theories and you get applicable knowledge. And that will turn into technology, from science to technology. Okay? Here, just observation and data. Here, or data and theory. Here is science and technology. The pro-science will produce ideas about nature, which are basically ideological. Okay? Like, well, there's space and time and matter and energy and order, and that's basic physical existence. But the non-physical existence would be spirit and angels and demons and souls and so on. And anyway, post-science are ideas drawn from pro-science, and for situations where it is either uncontrollable or unrepeatable. Okay? For example, about the beginning of the universe. That is an unrepeatable thing, right? And therefore, the origin science is not pro-science. The origin science is a post-science. You draw idea from science and form opinions about the origin. Okay? You can't test it. You can't make an experiment. But you can use the evidences to form the most reliable theory, okay, that you can get. And post-science actually draws ideas such as the universe, and the ideas of energy and time, space, and so on. And then you use that again in pre-science. So you form a circle. Okay? The pre-science to pro-science to post-science back to pre-science form a circle. And this circle is actually helical rising. Okay? The more you circle, the more accurate you are. So you go up, and up. Okay? You go in circles, but you go up and up. Okay? So you go around this, but you go this way. Okay? In other words, it's truer and truer. Okay? And however, people form ideas from pre-science and post-science. Okay? Pre-science is like evolution theory. It's a pre-science. It can't be tested. It's about the origin. Okay? And it's just observation of the universe. You find similarities between the species, and then you form a theory that there may be a evolution, a change from one to the other. Well, as we have said, similarities in bones does not mean there are actual lineage. All right? So that's evolution is pre-science. Physics, chemistry, biology, medicine, those are pro-science, and Big Bang is the post-science. Okay? And however, people draw ideas from evolution and Big Bang theory, they go into ideologies. That's parascience. Parascience takes the name of science, but they are simply parallel but not real. Okay? Parascience today people have parascience about spirits, ghosts, Ghostbusters. That's parascience. Okay? But ideologies are parascience, and false religions are parascience. Okay? And I do believe from evolution and from Big Bang theory, you form atheism, and that's a parascience. It takes a name of science. They claim to be scientific, but on the other hand, it practices the most anti-science, ideological, most religion-like activities, and suppress scientific free thoughts. Okay, so that's our idea about the other sciences other than pro-science. Okay, the pre, post, and parascience, and that's evolution, the Big Bang, and atheism. Okay, and if you're in the assumption there's no God, atheism, you're going to find the evidences to support you. You'll end up stuck in the parascience. Look at it here. The circle is between pre-science, pro-science, and post-science. The parascience only have things coming in. There's nothing coming out because it's stuck. It's a dead end. Okay, you get in there, you're stuck there. You start from there, you end up there. Okay, you don't ever get out of the parascience because that is a black hole. That's why we're saying you assume there's no God, you deal with these issues, and then you end up with evolution, Big Bang, and the atheism, which is a parascience. You started from atheism, you end up at atheism. You're doing self-fulfilling prophecies. Okay, and that's the left side. And however, right now the institutional science includes the pro-science and these. Okay, that's the institutional science. However, is the middle agreed part, and the side. It is a presuppositional science. We assume the Bible is. And then you have creation science. of the only eyewitness of the beginning of the universe, God. Okay? And that's presuppositional. But on the other hand, we are honest about it. Okay? The other side also has presupposition, but they're just not honest about it. They say they don't when they actually do. We have presuppositions, but we are honest about it, and we can form a consistent theory, consistent with reality, and consistent with logic, and consistent with the Bible. That's where we say we have truth. See, truth is when you're accurate, when your reflection in your subjective world, it is accurately reflecting the objective world, which you're trying to understand. Okay? And when you fit with facts in the lowest level, logic in the middle level, and the Bible in the top level, you have found truth in those realms. Therefore, I would say truth is the pro-science plus the creation science, which presumes the Bible as true. Okay? So, people may agree or disagree with my paradigms, but they cannot deny the paradigm. They may disagree with the result because they have different assumptions to begin with, but they cannot deny the comprehensiveness of this paradigm. Okay? And by evidence we have presented, we rationally and factually proclaim and confidently proclaim that assumption there is a God actually not only doesn't contradict science, it actually gives us truth beyond the pro-science, but also into the science of origin, which is the true science of that is the creation science. Okay, now let's go to the ending portion about our section, faith and science. We have mentioned science as always trying to minimize the role of faith, and that's legitimate because it's a reaction against the medieval, patronage of theology over philosophy. Okay, but the other side, the other side can go too far by itself. Science originally was part of natural philosophy, and philosophy was made of theology. Okay, but when things got turned down, upside down, the highest authority becomes experience, then we put science on the throne rather than theology. It is while it's legitimate to minimize faith, it is untrue to say that science has no relationship with faith. Okay. Actually, there are several foundational faiths in science. Okay. And we can also prove that these foundational faith comes from Christianity alone, okay, and not other worldviews. Okay. So first of all, there are four foundational faiths of science. Number one, the existence of truth. See, science is a practice of the search for truth in the level of nature, based on mostly experience plus reason, okay, and some faith, okay. And this is one of those faiths, the existence of truth. There is a truth. That means our subjective world can reflect the objective world. That itself is a question. It is an assumption. It can by reason. It is just there. Okay, it's something you assume. There is truth. Okay, and how do you prove that? Well, because if you say there is no truth, then what about this sentence? Is that sentence true? Right? If that sentence is true, then there's at least one truth. Right? And well, apparently it's not just that sentence. So anyway, the saying is false in all situations. Right? So the existence of truth, such as how can mathematics generated by human mind can be applied in nature? There's no reason why physics can use mathematics to write equations, because mathematics came from human mind, physics from the real world. Why do they match? Well, the only reason is there's something greater that created one with order and put part of that mind that designed the order into humans. And therefore, we created these mathematics. And therefore, our mind and natural laws all reflect one source, God's mind. And that's the only way you can get that. So the existence of truth is an assumption that science needs. And also the uniqueness of truth. That truth cannot be conflicting claims, and 1 plus 1 is 2 or 3. Well, it is only 2, it's not 3, nor anything else. Uniqueness of truth. And that is also an assumption by science. If there are conflicting theories, we believe by reason and by experiment, finally we will filter out. Either these competing theories are all wrong, or one of them is right, the other is wrong. The others are wrong. Okay? Truth is unique. So when you have conflicts in theories, try to research more. Don't give up. Okay? And how about the knowability of truth? Truth not only is there, it is knowable. It is not impossible for man to know. Well, some are impossible. Some you can only guess. But generally speaking, truth is knowable. Some part of the truth is knowable. Okay? And that's also assumed by science. And also the goodness of truth. Okay? That is good to know the truth. Okay? You know the truth, you can have more freedom. Okay? And you know the truth about nature, so you can rule over nature. You can rule over space and time. You can travel from America to China now in 24 hours rather than months as before. So the time you save, you have freedom to do others. Okay? So the goodness of truth. Okay? Even though technologies that could become harmful, but like guns don't kill people. People who use guns kill people. Right? Like a nuclear bomb. Nuclear bomb doesn't kill people. People who decide to use nuclear bomb kill people. But using the nuclear bomb on Japan have saved the life of American soldiers who are the good people. Okay? You kill the evil people, and sometimes innocent one as collateral damage, but overall you have used that to do good, even that's something that could do evil. So anyway, it's good to know the truth. That is assumption by science. If it's bad to know the truth, then we shouldn't know it, right? But we find that ultimately speaking, truth is good. Okay? Those are foundational faiths of science, and I'm going to claim they all came from Christian worldviews, and no other worldviews, existing worldviews, provides that. Number one, God is the truth. God exists, so truth exists, right? Jesus Christ said, I am the way, I'm the truth, I'm the life. Okay? So he reflects God the Father accurately. That's why he is the truth on the level of religion, supernatural. He reflects God. And about other things, since God exists, then the truth exists. And there is only one God, so there is only one truth. And God created man in his image. Therefore, we have his mind. Therefore, we can know the truth. The order he created in the universe, our mind can understand. And finally, the goodness of the truth. Jesus says, God wants man to know the truth, because Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and truth shall make you free. Amen. That's why we know science.